Hello and welcome to Science Orbit, the place where we unravel the wonders of science, technology, and innovation. I'm your host, Alex, here to introduce today's exciting podcast discussion on the future of artificial intelligence. Joining us today are John, a tech enthusiast and researcher, and Sarah, a leading AI expert. They'll be sharing their insights, perspectives, and ideas about how AI is shaping our world. Let's dive right in.
Okay, so are you ready to dive into this AI thing? It's like everyone's talking about it, right?
Yeah, it's definitely having a moment.
And it's not just hype, it's like actually changing things. I mean, we've been looking at all this stuff like tech blogs, articles, even like what CEOs are saying. And it's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I think what's really interesting is, AI is not exactly new.
Yeah, it's been around, right? Like since computers were the size of a house.
Right. I mean, you can go back to like 1951.
Oh, wow. Seriously.
Yeah, Christopher Strachey, he programmed a checkers game on that for anti-Mark I computer. Crazy to think about.
Yeah, like the OG AI. But things are definitely like moving way faster now.
Oh, absolutely. It's just exploded in recent years.
It's not just checkers anymore, that's for sure. I was reading about Google, how their AI can like predict if you're pregnant based on your search history.
Yeah, I got that too.
It's kind of creepy, but
It is, but it's also incredibly powerful. I mean, think about what that means, the level of pattern recognition involved.
it's like knowing you better than you know yourself. Kind of freaky. But okay, so what's driving all this sudden boom?
Well, a lot of it comes down to machine learning and more specifically, deep learning. These AI systems, they can analyze like massive amounts of data
Right.
and basically teach themselves to get better.
So like ChatGPT, right? That's how it got so smart so fast.
Exactly. ChatGPT really brought AI into the mainstream, made it accessible to everyone, and that's had a huge impact.
I mean, it's one thing to read about it, but then when you see what it can actually do,
Mind blown.
yeah, like Stable Diffusion, the AI that makes images from like just noise.
Right, based on text prompts. I mean, that's like 50,000 to 1 data compression. That's a form of intelligence, right?
Definitely not just random pixels anymore. And remember that Google AI that reconstructed a mug just from someone's brain scan?
Oh yeah, from their fMRI data.
Wild. It's like stuff we thought was impossible is just like happening now.
It really is. And it's pushing us to rethink like what's even possible.
Okay, so cool tech, yeah. But what does all this actually mean for us? For like normal people?
Right. That's the big question. And I think there are 2 main things to consider.
Right.
One is, how's it going to affect our daily lives, our jobs, the day-to-day stuff?
Like, will robots be making my coffee soon?
Maybe. But more realistically, think about things like, will kids even need to write essays anymore with ChatGPT? What does that do to education?
Whoa, yeah. It's going to change things up for sure. And what about like therapists? Imagine an AI therapist you can talk to anytime, no judgment.
Always listening. Could be really helpful for some people, I think.
And then there's the other side of it, right? The bigger, like, existential stuff.
Exactly. Like, what happens when AI gets smarter than us? Is it going to be our friend or our overlord?
Terminator vibes.
Yeah, kind of. The whole artificial general intelligence, AGI thing, that's where it gets really interesting and maybe a little scary.
Yeah, okay. That is getting a bit dark. But before we go full sci-fi on this, let's look at what's actually happening right now.
Yeah.
How is AI changing things? Like, today? There's got to be some good stuff too, right?
Absolutely. AI is already having a huge impact on all sorts of industries. It's not just a future thing anymore.
Okay, so where do we start? What's the most mind-blowing stuff you've seen?
Well, one area where we're seeing massive changes is transportation. Self-driving cars, for example.
Oh yeah, those are actually on the road now.
They are. And the potential is huge. Some experts think they could reduce accidents by like 90%.
90%. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But then wouldn't that create a whole new set of problems, like ethically?
Oh, for sure. Like, what happens if a self-driving car has to choose between, 2 bad options in an accident? Who's responsible?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's like, we're gonna need new rules for a whole new world.
Yeah.
But okay, so what else? What other industries are getting shaken up by AI?
Well, healthcare is another big one.
Yeah, I've heard about AI doctors, like diagnosing stuff.
Right. And it turns out some of these AI systems are actually outperforming human doctors in certain areas.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah. And then there's personalized medicine. using AI to tailor treatments to your specific genes, even your microbiome.
It's like future medicine, but it's like happening now.
It is. It's pretty incredible, and it has the potential to change the way we think about healthcare entirely.
Okay, so that's transportation, healthcare. What about like more everyday stuff, like customer service?
Oh yeah, chatbots are everywhere these days.
Ugh, sometimes they're more frustrating than helpful.
I know what you mean. They've definitely got some room for improvement, but they are getting better, and they're already changing the customer service landscape.
Yeah, I guess they do save you from waiting on hold forever sometimes. But then there's marketing, right? Like, targeted ads are creepy enough, but what happens when AI starts making the ads themselves?
Yeah, that's a bit of a Black Mirror episode waiting to happen. It raises concerns about manipulation, about being targeted in ways we don't even realize.
Okay, so this is where things start to feel a little uneasy.
Yep.
Like all this cool stuff, but also some potential downsides. Maybe it's time to talk about the risks, the not so fun side of AI.
Yeah, we can't ignore the potential risks, and one of the biggest concerns is the impact on jobs.
I mean, it's got to be happening already, right? AI taking over jobs.
It is, and it's only going to accelerate as AI gets more sophisticated. Some jobs will inevitably disappear.
So what do we do? What happens to all the people whose jobs get replaced by robots?
Well, we need to be thinking about retraining, helping people develop new skills that are in demand in an AI-powered world. And it's not just about learning to code, it's about things like creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, skills that AI can't replicate, at least not yet.
Okay, so like leveling up our human skills to stay ahead of the robots.
Exactly. And you know, there are new jobs being created too because of AI. Have you heard of a prompt engineer?
A prompt engineer, what's that?
It's a real job. It's all about knowing how to, talk to AI, how to give it the right instructions to get the results you want.
Wow, okay, so that's a sign of the times. But job displacement isn't the only risk, right?
No, definitely not. There's the whole issue of deep fakes, AI-generated content that's so realistic, it's hard to tell what's real anymore.
Yeah, that's scary. Like, what happens to trust, to truth, when anything can be faked?
It undermines everything. Our faith in media, in evidence, even in each other. It's a serious problem.
And what about all the data? AI needs tons of data to learn, right? Where's all that coming from?
That's another big concern. Data privacy is huge. We need to make sure our personal information isn't being used without our knowledge or consent.
Like, I saw this survey from Cisco, I think. Something like half of businesses have put their private company info into AI tools, and most of them are worried about leaks or legal issues.
Yeah, that's pretty alarming. We're generating more data than ever before, and we need to be very careful about how it's being used.
And then there's the environmental impact, right? Like, running all these massive AI systems must take a ton of energy.
Yeah, the energy consumption is significant, and it's growing rapidly. Some estimates say it's increasing by 5% every year.
Wow, that's not sustainable. So, okay, this is starting to feel pretty doom and gloom. Are we doomed? Is there any hope?
I think there's always hope. We just need to be proactive and think about how to use AI for good while being aware of the risks.
So what can we do? How do we make sure AI doesn't turn into some kind of dystopian nightmare?
Well, one thing that's promising is the open source AI movement.
Open source, like
Yeah.
making the code public.
Yeah, basically. It means giving people more control over how these systems are developed and used. It's like, not your model, not your mind.
I like that. It puts the power back in the hands of the people.
Yeah.
But open source isn't enough, right?
Right.
We probably need some rules, some regulations, right?
We do. We need clear guidelines, ethical frameworks to make sure AI is developed and used responsibly.
Like guardrails for the AI revolution.
Exactly. And these guidelines need to be global. AI doesn't respect national borders. It's going to affect all of us, so we need to work together to make sure it's used ethically and for the benefit of humanity.
Okay, that's a lot to think about. And
Yeah.
honestly, a little overwhelming. But there are people out there who are working on this, right? Like trying to make sure AI is a force for good.
Absolutely. There are a lot of smart people working on these issues. Have you heard of Stability AI?
Giggly.
Their whole mission is to activate human potential, which I think is a really inspiring goal. They believe that AI can be a tool for good, for growth, for connection.
Okay, that is a lot more hopeful. So maybe it's not all doom and gloom after all. Maybe AI can help us build a better world.
I think it can, but it's up to us to make sure that happens. It's a collective effort, and we all have a role to play.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive already, and I'm sure there's even more to explore.
Yeah, it's a huge topic.
Yeah.
What are your main takeaways so far? What's standing out to you?
Honestly, it's a lot to process. But I think the biggest thing for me is like the balance, right? The incredible potential of AI, but also the very real risks.
I agree. It's a powerful tool, and we need to be very careful how we use it. What are you most excited about in terms of AI's potential, and what worries you the most? It's a good question to think about. And I think everyone needs to grapple with that personally. There's no easy answer. What story do you want AI to help us tell about the future? That's something worth pondering, I think.
It is. It really is. Yeah, it's a big question for sure. And I think it connects back to something we were talking about earlier about jobs. Like we touched on transportation, self-driving cars and all that. But what about the people whose jobs are like directly affected? Truck drivers, taxi drivers, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a real concern. And it's not just transportation, it's across the board.
Yeah.
AI has the potential to automate so many tasks that humans currently do. And, that's going to lead to job losses. There's no way around it.
So what do we do about that? Is it about retraining, like finding new skills that work with AI instead of trying to like compete with it?
I think retraining is a big part of it, for sure. We need to be focusing on the skills that are uniquely human, things AI can't do, or at least not yet, like creativity, critical thinking, complex problem solving, emotional intelligence.
Right. It's interesting because it's almost like AI is forcing us to define what makes us human.
Exactly. It's pushing us to level up, to adapt and evolve.
But it's not just about like losing jobs, right? AI can also create new jobs, right? We already talked about prompt engineers, which is a job that didn't even exist a few years ago.
Right. And who knows what other new jobs will emerge? It's a dynamic landscape, that's for sure. Some jobs will be lost, new ones will be created, and existing jobs will transform.
It sounds like a lot of uncertainty.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But also a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I guess that's how it always is with new technology, right?
It is. It's about being adaptable, embracing lifelong learning. Things are changing fast, and we have to be able to keep up.
And it's not just the job market that's changing. It's like everything. The way we interact with the world, the way we shop, the way we consume news.
Yeah, think about personalized recommendations. It's everywhere now.
Oh yeah, Netflix, Amazon, it's all algorithms, right? They're getting pretty good at figuring out what we like.
They are, but it can also be a bit of a double-edged sword.
How so?
Well, it can lead to these filter bubbles where we're only exposed to information that confirms our existing beliefs. We're not challenged to think critically or consider different perspectives.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I love getting movie recommendations tailored to my taste. But it does make you wonder, what am I not seeing?
Exactly. And then there's the issue of algorithmic bias.
Oh, right. Like,
Yeah.
if the data that the AI is trained on is biased, then the AI will be biased too.
Right. And that can have real-world consequences, perpetuating inequalities, reinforcing existing power structures. It's a complex issue, and we need to be very aware of it.
So it sounds like we need to be really careful about how we design these AI systems, right? It's not just about making them smart. It's about making them fair, ethical.
Absolutely. And it's not just a national issue, it's global. AI is going to affect everyone, so we need to work together internationally to make sure it's used responsibly.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. We can't just let each country do its own thing. We need some kind of global framework. But we've talked a lot about the risks, the challenges. I want to end this section on a more positive note. What are you most excited about when it comes to the future of AI? What gives you hope?
Honestly, what excites me most is the potential for AI to help us solve some of the biggest problems we face as a species, like healthcare. AI could help us develop personalized treatments, diagnose diseases earlier, even accelerate drug discovery.
Yeah, the possibilities in healthcare are mind-boggling. And what about beyond healthcare?
Well, we could use AI to tackle climate change, develop sustainable energy sources, improve education. Imagine personalized learning plans for every student, tailored to their specific needs and strengths.
That's a pretty optimistic vision.
Yeah.
But it's not just about solving big problems, right? AI can also enhance our everyday lives in countless ways.
Oh, absolutely. AI-powered assistants, smart homes, even things we haven't even thought of yet. It's about making our lives easier, more efficient, more fulfilling. And it's about using AI to unleash human creativity, help us tell better stories, create amazing art, explore new frontiers of knowledge.
It sounds like a future worth striving for.
It is, and it's a future that's within our reach if we approach it wisely and courageously. If we remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. It all depends on us.
It is, yeah. It
Yeah.
really makes you think. Like, all this potential is amazing, but it's also kind of scary, right? I mean, if we're talking about AI that could actually be smarter than us, how do we even control something like that?
That's the big question, isn't it? The whole idea of control. Can we really control something that might be more intelligent than we are?
Right. It's almost like we're not just talking about technology anymore. We're talking about like a whole new species or something.
Yeah, it's a pretty profound idea, and it raises all these questions about, like, what does it even mean to be intelligent? Can a machine actually be conscious? Those are questions philosophers have been debating forever, and now with AI, it's not just theoretical anymore.
Yeah, it's getting real.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we have any easy answers.
I don't think so either. But that's part of what makes this whole conversation so fascinating, right? It's like we're exploring uncharted territory here. We're having to redefine what it means to be human.
Okay, so how do we navigate this uncharted territory? What are the guiding principles that can help us make sure we're steering AI in the right direction?
I think it comes back to those core human values we were talking about before. You know, empathy, compassion, a sense of shared responsibility. We need to make sure those values are built into AI right from the start, not just as an afterthought.
It can't just be about the code, it has to be about the ethics behind it.
Exactly. And that ethical framework, it needs to be global. AI isn't limited by borders. It's going to affect everyone, everywhere. So we all need to work together to make sure it's used for good.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's a big task, but it's got to be done. I think these conversations are a good start, at least. Talking about it, raising awareness of both the potential and the risks.
Definitely. Open dialogue is essential. And we need to hear from everyone, not just the tech people. Ethicists, social scientists, policymakers, everyday people. We all have a stake in this.
Right, it's not just about the technology, it's about what kind of future we want to create with it. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Self-driving cars, personalized medicine, job displacement, ethical frameworks. It's a lot.
It is. And we've only just scratched the surface, really. But I think the key takeaway is that AI is already here, it's changing our world in profound ways, and it's only going to get more powerful.
So where do we go from here?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed, to keep learning, to keep asking questions, and to remember that the future of AI is not predetermined. It's up to us to shape it.
That's a powerful thought. Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dives into the world of AI. We hope you found it informative, thought-provoking, maybe even a little inspiring.
Thanks for joining us.
And remember, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going. The future is ours to create. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for tuning in to this engaging discussion on the future of artificial intelligence here at Science Orbit. A big thank you to John and Sarah for their thought-provoking conversation. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share this episode with your friends and community. Your support helps us bring more captivating content your way. Until next time, keep exploring the world of science and technology.